Hello everyone and welcome to Life Transformation UK. My name is Ben, and today in this video I want to talk about how you can start to support yourself emotionally in your life. Now, we're all going to have times in our life when we are going to need emotional support, and for the most part you hope that when those situations come around, you've got a support system around you of friends and family and loved ones who will help you to get through those particularly difficult times. But that being said, we cannot always expect others to help us and to fix our problems for us. And so I wanted to share with you some easy ways that you can start to become more emotionally supportive towards yourself. And I've spoken in the past about the importance of self-care, so I'll have a pop-up for that video in the top right hand corner. And I do recommend that you check that out, because self-care is such an important part of self-improvement, knowing how to take care of yourself and respecting yourself enough to really look after the things that are important to your emotional health. But now I want to talk a little bit more about you becoming emotionally supportive towards yourself. And the first thing that I'd like to share is that when it comes to dealing with your emotions, you should never try to bury them. Now, when I was younger, I dealt with a lot of anger issues for many reasons which we don't have time to go into in this video, but I had a lot of trouble with being angry all the time, and I was told that I should just control myself and that I should kind of put the anger aside because it wasn't healthy for me to have. So what I did was that I just buried it, and I actually became very, very successful at burying my anger. But what tended to happen was that it would suddenly just appear in massive flare-ups, where I would just go absolutely crazy with anger for whatever reason. Sometimes the reasons were very, very trivial, and sometimes not. But the reason that these massive flare-ups happened was because I was not addressing the emotion that I had. I was not addressing my anger. I was just burying it and ignoring it and pretending that it wasn't there, and that was not helping me at all. It's always better to face these things head on and to ask yourself, well, if I am angry, why am I angry? What's causing this anger? Where is it all coming from? Because if you can find out where it's coming from, you can start the process of fixing it. And in terms of going deep with understanding your emotional headspace, I highly recommend going and speaking with a counsellor or a therapist, even if you haven't got anything that you believe is therapy worthy. It's just an amazing process for getting to know yourself a little bit better, so I highly recommend anyone to go out and do that. But when you get to the root of where these problems are, or even if you just understand in the abstract where these emotional issues come from, you can start to work with them instead of bury them, and you can start to work on step 2 of this process, which is accepting yourself as you are right now. Now, this doesn't mean that you should just succumb to whatever emotion appears in your life at the time, whether that is extreme happiness or absolute rage. But just because you have these emotions that are sometimes perceived as positive or negative, when in reality emotions are just emotions, they are things that happen. You should know that even though you might not always be able to control when your emotions appear, you are always in control of how you can react and respond to them. And that means not letting these emotions control you, and that is what was happening for me. My anger in the past was controlling me rather than me controlling myself. Because emotions, much like any other kind of thought, can be intrusive, and sometimes we just can't help when it crops up, but we can control our response to it. But what is important is that you accept yourself as just a person. You're human, just like everyone else, which means that you do have these emotions, they do happen, and sometimes they're going to happen on a regular basis. Sometimes you're going to be very, very happy, and sometimes you're going to be very, very sad. Sometimes you're going to be neutral, and sometimes you're going to be in a flaming ball of anger and fury. And all of that is okay, because that is just what humans are like, and there's no sense in going back to point number one, burying it down or denying that these emotions exist, or even denying that they have any kind of impact on our lives, because they do. Emotions have a serious impact on our lives. All humans are emotional creatures. We design our entire lives around emotion, around things like fear or hope, ambition, anxiety, things like that. We construct our lives around these emotional concepts because that is what gives our lives meaning. Emotion gives life meaning, and that is why we cannot be denying it. If we want to support ourselves more emotionally, we have to accept that these things happen, and that right now we are as good as we can be in this moment, but of course that we can get better, that we can work to improve ourselves over time. The best piece of emotional support advice that I've ever been given is that you should watch your thoughts and emotions as if you are an impartial observer, because we all have two minds. We have the mind that is making things happen, and we also have the mind in which those things are happening to it. So whilst we have a side of us that, for example, is experiencing anger, we also have the side of ourselves that is actually angry. So there's always the experiencing mind and the happening mind, if you will. And if we can learn to observe these things that are happening, these intrusive thoughts, emotions, whatever they are, from a neutral standpoint, then it becomes that much easier to give yourself the support that you need. And it's definitely not as simple as me saying you just need to observe your thoughts from an objective standpoint. It takes work, and I highly recommend looking into the teachings of people like the ancient Stoics, people like Marcus Aurelius, or the more modern proponents of that particular type of philosophy like Ryan Holiday. Highly recommend his books on the subject, books like The Obstacle is the Way and Ego is the Enemy. I've not read his new book, Stillness is the Key, but I'm hoping to get to that pretty soon. But he gives some really, really simplified breakdowns of how to apply a more stoic attitude in your life. And again, stoicism is not all about just shutting down and being a brick wall of no emotion. It's about accepting where you are, and then when these things are happening, taking a step back and really observing the experience of these things that are happening. And of course, my number one piece of advice for emotional support is self-compassion. Just recognizing that you're not perfect, that you are human, that these things do happen, and learning ways and tactics and techniques, whatever works best for you, to really support yourselves in these situations, whether it is going for a walk in nature, taking a warm bath, meditating, reading, spending time with family, spending time with your pets, whatever it is. If you found a way to really support yourselves in these emotional times that works for you, go for it. It doesn't matter what it is. If it is that you're feeling particularly destructive and angry, and the only thing that's going to really bring you back down to earth is sitting down and having a bowl of ice cream, then do that. At the end of the day, all of this has to work best for you, and I can give you hundreds of thousands of different techniques that you can use to really gain a little bit more control over the way that you respond and react to these emotions, and how you can get yourself into places of more calmness and things of that nature. But it has to work for you. So really work out what things are going to be best for your situation, wherever the context is, and just work with that. And have that self-compassion for yourself, reminding yourself that you're just figuring things out. None of us have come with an instruction manual, and we spend most of our lives just trying to figure out how things work. And you're still figuring out how things work. So take it easy on yourself, treat yourself like you would your best friend. So I hope you have found that video useful. If you have done, make sure to leave a like and a comment letting me know what it is that you're going to be doing to transform your life today. And while you're down there, why not subscribe to the channel as well? But otherwise, thank you very much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one very soon.